The Graduate. The Graduate was released in 1967 and is directed by Mike Nichols and stars Dustin, Hoffman, Katherine and Bancroft. And basically, the film's the story of Benjamin Braddock, played by Dustin Hoffman in the film, who, after finishing college, gets seduced by Mrs. Robinson. And Mrs. Robinson is played by Bancroft in the film. And basically, these two characters start having an affair with each other. Benjamin Braddock and Mrs. Robinson start having an affair with one another. However, Benjamin is soon set up with Mrs. Robinson's daughter, Elaine, and Elaine is played by Katherine in the film. Even so, Mrs. Robinson actually says to Benjamin, the person being having an affair with, that he cannot go out with her daughter. He still does anyway. Long story short, Elaine finds out about the affair between her mother and her boyfriend. So, even after Benjamin and Elaine break up, Benjamin is still obsessed with Elaine though. He is still in love with her, so he does everything he can to get her back. And he also does everything he can to stop her from marrying someone else. And that's basically the plot of The Graduate. And honestly, this film could have been made yesterday. It has aged that well. Honestly, it does not feel like a 1967 film. It could have been made, yesterday, it could have been made last week, it could have been made last month, it could have been made last year. It has aged that well. Honestly, The Graduate is just brilliant. It's a brilliant film, and it's not only so well made, it's also so much fun to watch. Because, the direction of the film is fantastic. It really is. Mike Nichols, the director of the film, did his absolute superb job making the film. He really did. There's lots of sequences in the film which the direction is just brilliant. The seduction scene between Mrs. Robinson and Benjamin Braddock in the film, Dustin Hoffman and Bancroft's character. That works so well because it's so well directed. It isn't just, a straight up seduction scene. Actually, there's some really interesting direction there which works really, really well. At the same time, there's this whole montage sequence in the film where we see, Dustin Hoffman's character, Benjamin Braddock, and Mrs. Robinson actually having an affair, and it's all done in one montage sequence, and it's done really, really well. It's directed really well, and it's put together really well, and it's constructed really well. Just a montage sequence like that, which in another film might just be a bit throwaway, a montage sequence where you see two characters having an affair with one another. But actually, in this film, it's done in a bit of an interesting way that it's actually quite clever. You see, Benjamin Braddock, Dustin Hoffman's character, actually jumping into the pool, but then it's cut to him jumping on Miss Robinson's body, and that's really interesting to watch. Just the direction of the film, but at the same time, not only is it well directed, it's so much fun to watch, which I really didn't expect at all. Honestly, I watched the film last night and I had such a fun time with it, which, again, I didn't expect. I sat down to watch the film, and obviously The Graduate's one of those films, it's really famous, everyone says, oh, you have to watch The Graduate, how can you love films and not watch The Graduate? So I kind of watched it last night thinking, I think it'll be well directed, but not that fun to watch. Or something like, I don't know, The Godfather, which although it's a brilliant film, I think The Godfather is absolutely fantastic. It's a great film, but the thing with The Godfather, it's long, it's testing, it does have those slow moments, and I wasn't really in the mood to watch a film like The Godfather last night, as good as that film is. I'm not saying the film's bad in any way, I just wasn't in the mood to watch a film like that. But, the thing is, when I sat down to watch The Graduate, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be something like The Godfather, and then it wasn't. It was so enjoyable, and it was just so well paced and so well put together and so well constructed that it was just so much fun to watch. And the thing is though, the film is clever as well. You might actually watch this film and recognise certain parts of the film, like the whole last shot of the film, the whole thing with stopping the wedding before it's too late, the person that the protagonist loves marries the wrong person. That's been copied in so many other TV shows and films, and that all comes from this film. I was watching it last night thinking, I recognise that from such and such, I recognise that from, such a TV channel. Then you realise it all comes from this film. And that's what makes it so fun to watch. Not just the last shot has been copied in so many times. I remember that last shot was copied in The Simpsons. The Simpsons copied so much, but I was kind of watching it thinking, Simpsons copied off that once again. And at the same time, though, it's really clever. And even so you kind of know where the story's going, it's still enjoyable to watch. And that's what makes it such a good film, such a brilliant film. Honestly, it's such a joy to watch, and at the same time, though, it's also got some great performances. Obviously, Dustin Hoffman's great in the film, he gives off a really good performance. You really enjoy watching his character. I laughed a lot of his character, if I must admit. He's quite like an odd character, but then throughout the film, you really enjoy watching him and really like that. At the same time, though, the film's also got a great soundtrack, full, really good Simon Garfunkel songs. The Sound of Silence, April Comes Too Well, Mrs. Robinson. And I must admit, this is where my only criticism of this film comes, and it's a bit of a silly criticism, I must admit, but it's my only criticism. My only criticism is that I Go On to Sky Prefer the song is played about 3 times in the film. And by the 3rd time that it was played, I was like, we're going to hear this song again? Okay, we're playing it again. But that was kind of my only criticism of the film. I didn't want to hear I Go On to Sky Prefer the song for the 3rd time, but that's kind of my only criticism to the film. And even that's just a bit of a silly criticism. I didn't want to hear a song played for the 3rd time in the film. It's not really a bad criticism, because actually, all the Simon Garfunkel songs in the film are always nice to listen to. It's always nice to listen to a bit of Simon Garfunkel. And actually, their music worked really, really well in the film. Even songs like The Sound of Silence, which I don't really like that much, actually work really, really well in the film. And honestly, it's just so much fun to watch. Like, not only is it well directed, so well directed, like, directors nowadays should look on this film for how to direct a film. They really should. Like, so many comedies nowadays, as good as it may be for some people, and when quite a lot of comedies nowadays don't actually work for me. I mean, as good as all comedies might be for some people nowadays, they're not always that well directed. It's quite generically directed. I mean, that's fine. Comedies are comedies in the end. But the fact is, this is a comedy. But at the same time, though, it's such a well-directed comedy, which makes it so unique, makes it so fantastic to watch. It makes it such a fantastic coming of age film that it's just brilliant. That's what makes it work. And honestly, it's aged so well. It really has. This could be made yesterday, and I think it would have been effective. This film could have come out yesterday, and I think it would be effective. It could have been shot back in 1967, come out yesterday, and people would still love it. That's what makes it so good. That's what makes it so enjoyable. That's what makes it so brilliant. The fact that it's so well directed, it's so funny, it's so enjoyable to watch, it's so good to watch, but at the same time, though, it's just a treat. This really is. It's just one big pleasant surprise. And even so, it's not personally one of my all-time favourite films. I must admit, it was one of the most enjoyable films I've watched. Honestly, I was sitting there with a huge smile on my face from almost the start to, to the very end. Honestly, it's such a fun film to watch, so enjoyable, and it's aged so well as well. Honestly, it really has. And The Graduate is just a brilliant film. And so, all in all, I'm going to say The Graduate, I'm going to say that's a 9 out of 10. I mean, honestly, like, I said it before and I'll say it again, this film's aged so well. There's so many brilliant moments of the film, which directors should look on nowadays, like how to direct a film. Just montage sequences, sequences which in other films would be a bit throwaway, like a seduction scene. That'd be a bit throwaway in another film, but actually, it's directed so well in this film. But at the same time, there's loads of really well directed moments, and just other moments in the film where you feel emotion for the character. Like the moment Elaine finds out that her mother, Mrs. Robinson, has been having an affair with her boyfriend, Braddock, Dustin Hoffman's character. Just that scene works so well because the emotion that's being built up in the film, and that's what makes it work. The fact that you go along with these characters, you feel emotionally in line with them. The fact that you kind of find Dustin Hoffman's character, you find him funny, at the same time, though, you kind of, feel sorry for him in some stages as well. You see the journey that he goes on. It's just so funny to watch. It's so joyous to watch. It's such a good film. It really is. And I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I really didn't expect to. It's got a great soundtrack, great performances. Not only Dustin Hoffman's brilliant, but at the same time, Katherine is great in the film, and so is Bancroft. And I love the third act of the film as well, which I haven't really talked about. But at the same time, though, the first two acts of the film are just as brilliant, and it is just a really good film to watch, full of really interesting ideas. And it's a film which you'll recognise a lot from as well, and it all comes from this film. You'll sit there and you're watching like, oh, I recognise that, oh, I recognise that, but then you realise it all comes from this film, and that's what makes it work. The fact that it's enjoyable, it's well directed, got a great soundtrack, some absolutely fantastic performances, and at the same time, though, it's such a fun film to watch, and it's such a treat as well. Honestly, it really is. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that The Graduate is a 9 out of 10 for me. Anyway, guys, what do you think of The Graduate? Please do comment down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway, guys, thank you as always for watching. If you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on the video, and look forward to many more both film and TVs coming very, very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye!